Hey, everybody, and welcome to another Playful Humans podcast. My guest this week is Haylee Kalani, and she is a high-performance creative coach and host of the Letting It All Hang Out podcast. So if you like podcasts, go check out Letting It All Hang Out. Her name is Haylee Kalani, and you can find her at hkalaniconsulting.com. Also, a lot of cool stuff on LinkedIn that I like to follow there as well. And the show is brought to you by Playful Humans. You can find us at playfulhumans.com. There's a quiz and a club you can join of other adults trying to rediscover the power of play. Check it out at playfulhumans.com. Here we go. The woohoos. All right, welcome, Haylee. I'm so excited to chat with you. I chatted on your podcast, and we have some mutual friends that have been on the show, so I know we have a lot of interesting stuff to talk about today. But we got to start with the joke of the week. So the joke of the week is brought to you by skydiving. Skydiving, if at first you don't succeed, skydiving is not for you. Skydiving. All right. Do you have a joke that you'd like to share?
Oh man, I'm still getting over that one that you just said. What is the best time to go to the dentist?
The best time to go to the dentist? I don't know.
It's a tooth hurty. Ho-ho!
I like that one. That one's good. All right. How about this? I dreamt about drowning in an ocean made of orange soda, but it took me a minute to realize it was a fantasy. Okay. That one's not very good. All right. So now we can get into it. Haylee, welcome to the show. Tell us about what you do for a living, because I think high performance creative coach is a little bit unique, but I love it because you kind of have a yin and a yang thing going on. You're about high performance, but you're also about creativity and play. Tell me about how those balance out for you.
Yeah, that title is kind of it's straight up made up. I think that titles, we try and do the best that we can, but really what I do for people is help them transform into becoming that most creative, productive, and connected version of themselves. And I wholeheartedly believe that as we become more creative people from the inside out, everything in our outer world changes. Our business life changes. We have stronger connections. We have more fun at work, more fulfillment. We feel less drained at the end of the day. And because of all that, we're going to get more work done. We're going to have relationships that are more fruitful, open up opportunities. And so many of these great things. And I love that you pointed out that it's like a yin and yang. And I honestly didn't even really think of that before, but you're so right. You have this structured high performance thing that our brain usually goes to when we think of high performance is discipline and all this stuff. And it's definitely a huge part of what I teach, is making sure that we have structure and discipline. But the cool part is that when we do that, it actually allows for more openness, freedom, flexibility. And that's where that creativity can come in and support that high performance.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like you and I are very similar, even though being probably exact opposites on every demographic scale you would look at, because you're very driven and very like high performance focused, but also creative and fun. And I know that's been like a balance in my life of whether my career is more playful or it's more serious. And sometimes I love to study and read and be serious and dig into the science of things. But I also like to just be completely silly and goof around as well. And I see that a lot in your work. Does one of those come more naturally and easy for you, or are they both just kind of two parts of the same thing?
Yeah, it took a lot of time and practice to get into the more disciplined, structured side of things. The creativity, like flow and just having fun, doing whatever I want, that has been my natural state ever since I was a kid, just doing magic tricks and having fun and making videos and going out inside and playing. That has definitely been my natural state. And so as I got older and wanted to start my own business, and then as soon as I did start my own business, I got slapped in the face a little bit by life and realized, oh, you can't you got to create a little bit more structure. You got to make sure that all your ducks are in a row before you can fully express that creativity and that playfulness. And there does have to be that balance of some kind, whatever that means for each individual person. And so for me, it was a lot of practice trying to find that balance and the productive style that worked best for me, because I didn't want to suppress all of the fun stuff that I had to do. I wanted to, have them coexist together.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And that's what I've kind of struggled with too. I found that like when I was on the radio and I had my DJ career, it's really easy to be the playful guy, but I was still designing websites and other things behind the scenes, but it was kind of hidden and behind the scenes. And then other times when I was a full-time web designer or internet marketing consultant, I felt like all the business was up front and I had to find play outside of work. So I'm interested to know how you got into the consulting as a career and how you found your way there, because I think a lot of people would love to design their own career, but that can be scary. And it can also feel like a bit of an imposter syndrome a little bit. I know it is for me, where especially when I was younger, it's like, well, can I be a consultant in my 20s? Is that a thing? And so funny. I didn't want to be a sales consultant because I thought like, well, how can I go into an owner's office and tell them what they should do with their sales team and stuff. So instead I became an internet marketing consultant and I went into their offices and told them what to do with their websites and social media. And it took me a while to be like, oh, you idiot, that's the same thing. So
Yeah.
how did you come to this, and what was that early part of your career like?
Yeah, it was a lot of trial and error and experimentation. When I first got into it, the idea crossed my mind actually in high school, around like junior year, senior year, when all the adults and teachers start asking you, "What are you going to do? Where are you going to go after high school?" And at that point in my life, I was obsessed and immersed in the music industry. I loved producing music, and I had played in bands, like cover bands, when I was younger, and did like the whole School of Rock thing. It was really fun and I loved it, but wanted to be more behind the scenes on the actual what happens to music before it goes on stage. Like there's this whole creative process that goes into it. And so I thought I was going to be an audio engineer and music producer. And I found a recording studio in Seattle, Washington that ran a audio engineering production program right out of their studio. And so I went there, got my certification, graduated. They hired me on as an intern slash audio engineer. And it was awesome. And I got to meet so many cool people. And I kept seeing that, myself included, but all of these incredibly talented artists and singers and producers and mix engineers were really struggling to make money off of the thing that they were best at. And if you could just get their music in front of the right people in the right way, I thought, well, of course, people are going to fall in love with what you're doing. And that is what snowballed into or trickled into the world of potentially social media marketing. It was really popular. Like Ty Lopez courses were all over the place.
Mhm.
And then I also came across a mentor who I also found from the studio. She had an entertainment company and was a music lawyer, and so knew a lot about the business side of things. So she took me under her wing and she was like, "Hey, you realize that you can monetize this really cool gift that you have of seeing things in your own brain or helping other people see it in theirs, and then creating it, like making it come to life in this real world." And I was like, "Yeah, that's what I want to do." And so I got my certifications in the marketing space, social media, and did it for the people that I knew. They were the people in the music industry. I did for bands and recording studios and a couple producers. And it was fun, but it was more so just the management of things. I wasn't getting that satisfaction of the creation portion or helping anybody fuel their creativity or unlock it to perform better. And so that's when I, again, was sort of experimenting and saying, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? And I don't quite remember how, but coaching fell into my brain and eventually into my lap. And I thought, what the heck, let's just try it. And at that time, it was right when COVID hit. And so all the clients that I had for social media management disappeared because nobody really needs that or is going to pay for that when we're in the midst of a pandemic and all that stuff. So then it became like, all right, well, you got to figure out what we're going to do. And all I thought in the back of my mind was, I'm not going to settle for going back to a typical job. It's just not what I want to do. So I made it work. And that is what had spiraled into me coaching and helping people transform and become their most creative, productive, connected self.
I love that. That story is also very similar to mine. I did the radio and DJ and music stuff, and I kind of fell into, because I was technically savvy, helping other artists, bands, record labels, and stuff do websites and social media. And then I think, I don't know if you feel the same, but it's almost harder to do for yourself than it is for somebody else. So I kind of struggled finding my own voice and creating my own stuff. I did have an internet radio station that was successful. That was a lot of fun, but it's kind of weird, isn't it? When you need a coach for this stuff, because I say you can't read the label from inside the bottle. You don't see what everybody else sees as your most unique attributes when you're too worried about being yourself. Have you found that to be true? And what's the value of a coach and a mentor to you?
Yeah, I found that to be so true, like unbelievably true. I would give so much advice and do so much for other people, and it would work out well for them. And then I would never really take my own advice. And I'd be like, why isn't this working? Well, duh, I'm not doing the thing that I'm preaching to other people. And so when that shifted and I started doing that, of course, business grew and my happiness grew and all that. But going back to what you said about mentorship, having Laura was her name as my initial mentor and teaching me the business side about things really helped. And it wasn't necessarily like she unlocks this box and opens this secret book that has all of the, keys to the universe inside. But she would ask questions like, is this really what you'd want to do? Or how do you think that that's going to get you to the next place where you want to be? And it was through the curiosity of her questions that helped me realize the next steps that I needed to take. And so even if nobody's strictly giving you the answers, because nobody can really give you all the answers, it's that discovery process within that helped me come up with the answers that were best for me. And after we parted ways and we're still close and everything, now Jeff Harry, somebody who's been on your podcast, is my play mentor, and he helps me like kind of bring it back to earth. And it's somebody to go to lean on. It's almost a friend, somebody who can give you advice, somebody who can just bring a little bit more clarity to all the confusion that you might have going on. And it's just that objective perspective, because like you said, you can't read the label when you're inside the bottle. It's a perfect analogy, and it's so true. Having that outside perspective just gives you a more well-rounded options to take opportunities or to go get opportunities.
Now, the play side of things, from what I can tell, is one that you seem to be able to practice as much as you preach. So what do you do for fun outside of work that's just for you and playful?
Yeah, I am a big explorer. I love going to new places, whether it's outside. Most of the time is usually my favorite. I love going hiking or kayaking. There's not much hiking out here in the flat Florida, but when I lived in the Pacific Northwest, especially, it was so awesome. And discovering new things. That's probably my biggest pleasure in play. But I also like working out. Not necessarily running. Sometimes like running can feel good, but I would say most days, not so much. So what I've found that really lights me up and feels like play is like CrossFit or MMA and like boxing and all that stuff, or jujitsu even. And that's another form of play for me.
Do you still play music at all?
You know what? I still love music dearly, but I haven't picked up my guitar in God, like years. And it's been something that I think you're probably like a fifth person to ask me, like, oh, how's music been lately? I'm like, it's been non-existent. So it's sitting in my closet, and it's something that I want to get back into. And it's one of those things I feel like when you drop off for a little bit, you're almost scared to go back in, because same thing with working out, right? You drop off for working out,
Right. Yeah.
you
You
know
gotta
that when
get
you
back
go
in
back
shape.
to the you go back to the gym, you're gonna hurt for a little bit. It's not gonna be quite the same. So I think that's what's been preventing me. But I do absolutely love music. I was watching Alicia Keys and Christina Aguilera's masterclass last night, and
Yeah.
it like reignited that fuel in me. So
that's cool. And I mean, you know, no guilt there either. Sometimes you have different phases and you grow and you find other passions and stuff. But I found music is interesting because it tells me a lot about people's playful side. So what type of music do you most enjoy, and what do you get
yeah,
into these days?
I I enjoy a lot of different types of music. The one that I enjoy most right now is sort of this, like, it falls in the realm of hip hop, I would say. Um, but it also falls in the realm of like pop. I feel like most music right now is just a conglomeration of all types of music. So it's hard to describe, but if I had to, there's artists like No Name, who I really like, or it's like when somebody asks you your favorite movie and you forget all the movies in
Right.
there.
Yeah. You're like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
can't,
yeah.
I can't think of any movies.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that I think with Netflix and everything, like the churn of movies is so much that I can't name a favorite movie. They're all just basically similar experiences of I might have enjoyed that, but I wasn't like in the theater blown away by something magical anymore. I found movies and TV shows to be particularly tough these days. And you
Yeah.
might be right about music too, as they all start to kind of sound poppy and the same after a while.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like because we have so many options and we're constantly like consuming new movies, new TV shows, all that, it's like anything that comes out isn't extraordinary. Like you haven't seen that in 5+ years or anything. And I don't know, it's kind of weird because they pop them out so fast. I'm like, how are you doing this?
Yeah, I was thinking about that because I think it does speak to being creative and playful. Is you have to really be unique and do something really creative on the edges to really make any kind of dent these days. And I think that will eventually swing back, or we'll all split back into niches where, you know, it's not for everybody. There won't be any viral hits or $1 million movies and books. It'll just all be little niche things, and that's okay too. But it is an interesting time that we live in, because I don't think we as humans have adjusted to what we're doing, especially like in COVID and consumption, but also the creatives haven't adjusted to the new formats as much either. Have you found that?
Yeah, it's definitely been a like time of what do we do? And like how can I stand out is a question that I hear a lot and see a lot, and people ask me a lot. And the answer is hard because I mean, on one hand, there's nobody else in the world like you. There never was and there never will be. So there's your answer right there. But at the same time,
Mhm.
people are like, I don't want to hear that. That doesn't make me, famous or make money or whatever. Um, and it comes back to like, well, what do you want out of it? Like what is the purpose of creating for you? If the purpose of creating is to get something from the outside, whether it's money or attention or anything, you're probably gonna resent creating and being creative after a while. But if it comes from within, you constantly do it and you put your own, like 100% of your own soul and past experiences and just everything that makes you you inside of your creations. That's how I feel you can put that unique spin on whatever the creation is and stand out simultaneously.
Yeah, I think you're right. For me, it's about you have to make a choice. So I think you're right. Everybody's unique, and being the most authentic and genuine version of yourself is probably the right answer for who to be. But then the how to be is the part that people get messed up, because they want that roadmap. They want like, go start a podcast and you'll be successful. Go get on TikTok or go get on Clubhouse and you'll be successful. And it's like, well, it doesn't work that way anymore. I'm not sure it ever really did, because once somebody finds the path, everybody goes to that path and then it's not special anymore. But especially now, there's so many different channels and things that I think you just have to find what's in your swing zone. Both you and I like podcasting and do some video stuff as well. But if you like writing books or blogs, then great, go do that. Or art, I think you have to find the way that you enjoy expressing yourself, because if you're trying to find what makes other people happy, you're not going to find it. Right.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And so often, I mean, there are definitely trends that make things that are, for lack of a better word, viral or really
Right.
popular. And there's certain things that happen, but the common theme is usually, does it relate to you and I, or you and somebody else as a human being, and then putting your own unique spin on it. So if really standing out and wanting to push that presence is really important to you, then like looking around in your own environment first to gather ideas and see what happens, and think of these funny experiences that we all go through as human beings, and then say, okay, how do I deal with those experiences personally, and what's maybe funny or exciting or emotional in any way, shape, or form about this, and then starting to create some, whether it's content or whether it's I don't know, any art form that you want to do
Right.
with it, creating something that relates those two things.
And so tell me about your podcast, and it's Letting It All Hang Out. Get that right. Why did you start it, and why did you choose podcasting over any other medium at the moment?
Mm-hmm. Ever since, I think really like a year after I graduated high school, which was 2016, I wanted to start a podcast. So like they were becoming more popular. There was a few people that I looked up to in the media or social media that had podcasts, and they were so entertaining. They were so funny. And I was like, that sounds fun. I just wanted to be able to have conversations with people. And as I grew into coaching, I wanted to have conversations with people that were meaningful, that I thought were really cool, really skilled at whatever they do, and can share a little bit of their life and insight to other people. Because the conversations that I was having one-on-one with people, I was like, whoa, these are fucking great. Like, if somebody else were to listen in on this, I think they would just get as much value as I just got. And the exciting part for me too is I get to, it's almost like one-on-one coaching in a sense. I get to speak to the other person, ask them whatever questions that I want, and they're open to sharing all of those opportunities and possibilities and answers. And so that's what intrigued me first. But it was one of those things where I was scared. Like that fear, that inner critic was like, how are you going to do that? You've never done a podcast. Who's going to listen to it? And I brought the idea up to a good friend. His name's Kale Marker. He had a podcast. And he kept asking me like, do you have a podcast? And I'd be like, no. And he's like, do you want to start one? You'd be really good at it. And I was like, I've been thinking about it. He's like, why do you keep thinking about it? How long have you been thinking about it? And so it was that slow pressure. And he was like, all right, let's set a date and like commit to yourself. And I was like, yeah, it's just a commitment to myself. If I keep putting it off over and over and over again, am I ever really going to do it? And so I set a date and I was like, I'm going to do it. I don't really know what it's going to be. I don't know anything, but I'll figure it out along the way before that first episode comes out. And that's how it started. And then it was a little bit, again, of that experimentation process where figuring out who I was as sort of a podcast host and what questions I wanted to ask and all that good stuff.
What does letting it all hang out mean to you then?
It's like, no, it's a sense of vulnerability. Like it's just two people hanging out, first of all. And I find that when you're hanging out with a group of friends, there's not really a filter. And that can be, you know, whether you're having a conversation with friends that's just like outlandish and goofy and weird, there's no filter. But even when you start talking about deep stuff with your close friends, and there's no filter, there's nothing, there's no resistance that's stopping somebody from saying something. And that's that vibe that I wanted to give off. It's just like, let it all hang out, whatever it is, good, bad, funny, scary, advice, like adventure, whatever it is, like let it out there, because I have found that when I let it all hang out and when I feel that other people are doing the same, there's so much growth that happens in the middle of that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the best part for me. When you're present, when you let down those guards, when you're having fun, that's what play means to me. And I think that's when we're living our best life. That's really when everything else kind of fades away, and you get to just be a human for a few minutes or a few hours if you're lucky. Once again, we're talking with Haylee Kalani. You can find her at hkalaniconsulting.com. Also, social media channels, I would say LinkedIn for sure, and Haylee Kalani on Instagrams, both good follows. So check those out. And the podcast is Letting It All Hang Out. Check that out on Spotify. So Haylee, I have one more question for you. And I was thinking, is there anything left on your fun bucket list? What is the next like big goal or playful pursuit for you?
Ooh, I could probably go with so many things, but the thing that has been popping up in my mind quite frequently recently, excuse me, is shark diving. I really want to go swimming with sharks. And in Florida, it's pretty popular around here. We've got lots of sharks in the ocean, and we live close to the Keys. So going out and being able to do that is really exciting. Like, I'm a little bit of a thrill seeker, but afraid, afraid of that thrill, you know? But that's my next adventure that I'm stoked about getting into.
That's where you and I diverge. I'm for creative risk, but not physical risk. When you talked about MMA fighting and shark diving, I'm out. I'm a lover, not a fighter. I'll watch. It looks entertaining and exciting for sure. All right. Do you want to play a game?
Yes, I love games.
All right. We're spinning our prize wheel. It's got 10 games on there. We'll see which one it lands on for you. And you got the Whisper Challenge. The Whisper Challenge is pretty easy. We've all been on Zoom calls where people were on mute. So I'm going to put myself on mute and say a sentence. Your job is to guess what I'm saying. Whoever gets the most amount of words correct wins. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. What did you get?
I found that the tooth fairy isn't very hairy.
Wow, you almost nailed it. So I found that Jeff Harry isn't very hairy.
That's pretty close.
So we could count the words, but I think you got 6 out of 8. So I am not looking forward to mine, but let's see. Throw yourself on mute and see what we can do here. Oh man, no, I definitely lost. Can you one more time for me? Let's see this. Okay, I think I might have gotten it that time. The unicorn pooped on my lawn.
You got all of it. That was exactly the whole sentence.
It was a dramatic comeback because all I had was the unicorn the first time. But I made you go twice and I stole the win. So I appreciate it. Haylee, thanks for being on the show. It was a ton of fun. Any final asks of the audience or ways that you can help us?
I mean, I would say if there's any inkling inside of you, which I believe there's an inkling inside all of us that has that creative fire of any kind, it doesn't have to be what other people deem creative, is follow it. Doesn't have to be your career, doesn't have to be your number one passion, but even for 5 minutes once a week if you haven't revisited that thing. I know that that's something that I'm going to work on with music. And so I'd encourage other people to try and do that thing to stretch that muscle of fun and creativity.
I love it. Again, Haylee Kalani, find her at hkalaniconsulting.com. Check out the podcast, Letting It All Hang Out, on Spotify. And if you would like to learn more about Playful Humans, go to playfulhumans.com. There's a playfulness quiz. There are 10 play personalities. You can find out which one most aligns with you in just a few short questions in a BuzzFeed style quiz. Also, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, share this podcast or video wherever you are listening to it, and leave us a comment. Give us a review, suggestions for future guests. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Don't wait for tomorrow. Live for today. Keep on chasing the sunshine and go out and play.
Go play, everybody.